Hi, this is John Lovett at Two Script Guys. So this week we're going to be talking about Cyril Kornbluth. Now, Cyril Kornbluth was born in 1923 and died in 1958. It was a very short life. He was an American science fiction author and a member of the Futurians, and I will have a discussion of the Futurians here in the near future. Born and grew up in the uptown Manhattan neighborhood of New York City. According to his widow, Kornbluth was a precocious child, learning to read by the age of 3 and writing his own stories by the time he was 7. He graduated from high school at 13, received a CCNY scholarship at 14, and that's City College of New York, and was thrown out for leading a student strike without graduating. As a teenager, he became a member of the Futurians, an influential group of science fiction fans and writers. While a member of the Futurians, he met and became friends with Frederik Pohl, Donald Wollheim, Robert Lowndes, and his future wife, Mary Byers. He also participated in the Fantasy Amateur Press Association. Kornbluth began writing at 15. His first solo story, The Rocket of 1955, was published in Richard Wilson's fanzine Escape. Kornbluth began writing at 15. His first solo stories, The Rocket of 1955, was published in Richard Wilson's fanzine Escape. His first collaboration, Stepsons of Mars, written with Richard Wilson and published under the name Ivar Towers, appeared in the 1940 Astounding. Kornbluth served in the U.S. Army during World War II in the European theater. He received the Bronze Star for his service in the Battle of the Bulge, and he returned to finish his education at the University of Chicago. While living in Chicago, he worked at Trans Radio Press, a news wire service. In 1951, writing full-time, he returned to New York, where he collaborated on novels with his old Futurian friends, Frederik Pohl and Judith Merril. He wrote The Little Black Bag, which was first adapted for television on the television show Tales of Tomorrow in 1952. It was later adapted for television by the BBC in 1969 for its Out of the Unknown series. In 1970, the same story was adapted by Rod Serling for Night Gallery. The Marching Morons is a look at a far future in which the world's population consists of 5 billion idiots and a few million geniuses. The precarious minority of the elite working desperately to keep things running behind the scenes. Biographer Mark Rich describes the 1958 story Two Dooms as one of several stories which are concerned with the ethics of theoretical science and which explore moral quandaries of the atomic age. Many of Kornbluth's novels were written as collaborations, either with Judith Merril, using the pseudonym Cyril Judd, or with Frederik Pohl. Kornbluth died at age 34 in Levittown, New York, on a day he was due to meet with Bob Mills in New York City to interview for the position of editor of the magazine of fantasy and science fiction. He was delayed because he had to shovel snow from his driveway. After running to meet the train following this delay, Kornbluth suffered a fatal heart attack on the platform of the station. Some interesting notes about Kornbluth. He had decided to educate himself by reading his way through the entire encyclopedia from A to Z. In the course of this effort, he acquired a great deal of esoteric knowledge that found its way into his stories in alphabetical order by subject. When Kornbluth wrote a story that mentioned the ballista, an ancient Roman weapon, Pohl knew that Kornbluth had finished the A's and had started in the B's. Another thing that Kornbluth didn't do, is that he never brushed his teeth, and they were literally green. Deeply embarrassed by this, which he shouldn't have been because he should have been brushing his teeth, but all right. He had developed the habit of holding his hand in front of his mouth when speaking. Now, hope you enjoyed that short essay into Cyril Kornbluth, and hopefully you've enjoyed the previous editions, such as we discussed James Blish and A. von Gott. We'll talk about Alfred Bester. We'll talk about Lester Del Rey. We'll talk about Philip K. Dick. Although Philip K. Dick is more well known today because of the movies that have been made from his books, but we'll talk about his life. Jack Vance, and who's been mentioned, a man who's been mentioned before, is Frederick Pohl. We'll talk about Judith Merrill. We'll talk about the Futurians. We'll also talk about another person that was involved in the Futurians and the first science fiction convention held in New York City. We'll talk about Damon Knight. I hope you have enjoyed the previous essays, and there's plenty more to go. But this has been John Lovett at Two Script Guys.